Welcome everyone. We're finally going to talk about every single one of the weapons that came out in the Techrot Encore update that are not the Coda weapons, as those already have their videos associated with them, and you can find those over on Brozime.com just by typing in Coda, and you'll get the page. You'll also get all of the other Lich weapons if you're looking for updated builds for those. And of course, all the Incarnon videos are also done, and also we've updated every single one of the Exalted Warframes recently, so if you're looking for anything else that's relevant to this update, it should already be done. Let me know if it's not in the comments. But today we are talking about the two primaries we got, which are the Jupiter and the Purgator, the two secondaries that we have, which are the Mars, and then the Riot 848, which is Temple's signature weapon, and then the melee weapon we got, which is the Dual Vissus. We're going to be going in order here, just primaries first, then secondaries, and then melee, and it should be a pretty quick and dirty one. Now, first and foremost, we have the Jupiter, and this weapon probably looks, pretty familiar. It is basically just a slightly adjusted AX52, and the weird thing about it is that I would actually generally say that the AX52 is a better weapon. There's a little bit of a redistribution of stats here, but the AX52's passives really make up for it in terms of, one, having the ability to have actually unlimited ammo and never having to reload, which is really positive off Crux and its passive, and then the other one being the ADS boost to crit really helps it out in terms of drilling down on enemies. The benefit to the Jupiter is that it does have base corrosive damage, which is helpful against armor, and its status chance is pretty good. They're both good weapons, but the main downside here is that this weapon, along with every single other weapon we're about to talk about, are all MR 14 for some reason. They all have exceptionally high MR at 14, which is usually where we find like new primes and such. And compared to the AX52, it is 2 MR higher because the 52 is at 12. I really would have liked to see most of these weapons at about 10, as I think they're reasonable at that. But just keep in mind that MR 14 is where you're going to be picking these weapons up, which is quite late in my evaluation. For that, though, the build is pretty much identical to what you would run on the AX52. Because of the additional status, I do think it's worth noting that instead of Serration, you can run Galvanized Aptitude, and that's going to work just fine, but have a, slower ramp up, but ramp to a higher amount of total damage you're going to be hitting from enemy to enemy. But because, again, this is, competitive with the AX52, you really don't need that. Just having the, base damage, the 165 here, I think is plenty. And then Crux kind of takes care of the rest, extending our magazine and giving us tons and tons of status to get all of the viral / corrosive and heat that we might want on enemies so that they die real good. With that, it's a pretty simple weapon. It does have an alt fire. Its alt fire is a, buckshot that honestly uses way, way too much ammo and really doesn't do very much damage. I've found basically no reason to ever use it. But the primary fire is an assault rifle. It's a stock standard regular ass assault rifle. But as you can see, it does pretty decently. It's not bad. We've got punch through on this weapon, and it can inflict a good amount of statuses of the different types. It goes through armor fairly well. And it's reasonable. There's nothing too crazy about it. It's just pretty normal. On this last group of enemies, I will use the alt fire here. We'll just it does kill them, but it's awfully slow, I would say. And it's fine. It is a totally acceptable assault rifle. It is a regular gun, and that is okay. You can get this thing as a sticker in ETA, which is notable, and that's probably where you're going to use it the most because it gets a significant damage bonus whenever you get it through the sticker in ETA. But that's probably where you'll be getting the most use out of this weapon overall, whenever it's just given to you to go over one of your truly horrific primaries in some mission you choose in ETA. Moving on, though, we have the much more interesting primary weapon, and that is the Purgator. So this weapon is good, but there are some caveats to that. This weapon is very interesting. It is a slug launcher, and this is the build for it. Looks a bit different than what we're currently used to here, but I found it to be quite good. Its unique trait is that whenever you kill enemies with direct hits, they explode into gas clouds, and the gas clouds are a nice moderate add to damage that can come up. But it's not what I was primarily building into, because another beneficial thing about this weapon is that it always procs impact on every single shot that hits an enemy. That means that along with its pretty low regular fire rate, you can actually put internal bleeding on this for a 70% chance on every single one of its projectiles to also inflict slash. And I know we're kind of out of the Hunter Munitions era, but this has really performed very well for me, with the significant damage boost you get from this being available to use semi-rifle cannonade for the punch through and also 240% upfront damage. And utilizing Deadhead to get the additional headshot multiplier plus more base damage really lets the slash proc scale pretty well. And even without scaling, because of semi-rifle cannonade, you get pretty good damage output just from nothing. Even without having scaled up chamber or Deadhead, this weapon can really do some damage to some pretty beefy enemies. And to show that off, we're going to just do the you know, before we get any buffs or anything here, I'm just going to shoot this enemy once in the head. Level 230 heavy gunner. And, like, very consistently, you're going to get a really, really powerful slash proc that just kills. Like, it's really nice as a starter. You can also run Crux on this if you want it to be a bit more ammo efficient, which I think would be very fair. But in general, this is, like, kind of like a nice weapon that can just do well. You can see those gas clouds adding a little bit of damage. Its reload is a bit on the long side, but mostly I find this to be, like, just a pretty nice single target. Just, like, you know, you want to pop heads with this thing, but it's pretty good. I think it's, like, a very solid and interesting weapon. It, you know, its build needs to be gone kind of a different way than what is currently usually the case, and I think it's pretty fun. So if you wanted just, like, a big, like, single slug launcher, this thing is absolutely doing that. I think it feels cool to use, and it's a good time. Is it MR14? Probably not. This weapon, much like the other primary we talked about, like, they're both not competitive with something like the Natteruk, which you'll get significantly before you ever have the opportunity to get these weapons. But from the standpoint of, like, hey, if I roll this in EDA, am I going to be happy? Yeah, pretty much all the time. Like, if I shoot an enemy with this, I can be rest assured that they're probably going to die from it if they don't have attenuation, which is a good start. Now let's talk about the secondaries. We go from nice positive outlook to the EFV8 Mars. This is the runt of the litter. This thing is horrifically bad. I was doing comparative tests with the Lotto with this thing. It is truly awful, and it was not helped by getting a mod removed from it, which, to be fair, was a bug fix, because its unique trait is an alt fire that I have not found much use for. You can launch a glob of gel that puts corrosive on enemies, and that's all well and good, but all that's really doing is taking away your ability to use the semi-auto cannonade on this weapon. So without that, we do absolutely have to make room for Merciless Gunfight to get some punch through on this thing. Otherwise, there's just no chance it's going to be able to handle groups ever. And we're on Pistol Elementalist because the status damage is a nice little add. It'll make our heat procs a bit stronger, but we actually really need the reload speed too on this weapon because its reload is just so long and its magazine size is so tiny. It is just disappointing up and down. I put 2 Forma into this thing. I would suggest you level this thing and get rid of it as soon as possible. This weapon is like MR4 feeling, not MR14. Truly terrible, and you will see that right away in terms of this test. It is tremendously awful at this. Even if I'm like specifically trying to go for like only headshots on these enemies, you know, even after we build up Deadhead, it's bad. It is not good here. This is you just dump magazines and enemies and like it will kill fodder and stuff, I guess. But it's bad. It's bad news. We'll use the alt fire here, which charges so slow, or basically like, you know, nil output. It is really, really rough. I would never suggest anyone use this thing, especially like, I mean, you'll have the Grimoire by the time you get this. I know a lot of people don't invest in the Grimoire, but like the Grimoire has infinite ammo and an AoE, and it's just so much better than this thing. So this is truly rancid, absolutely awful. It's really cheap to build, so if you are MR14, it's like basically totally free MR. But other than that, oh boy, this thing is a stinker. Moving on, though, we have a much more interesting, at least, weapon, which is the Riot 848. This is Temple's signature weapon, and this thing is reasonably fun, but I feel a little on the underpowered side. This is the build we have going for it. So, big positive here, its unique trait is that reloading will warp all the bullets back to the pistol, causing explosions at their endpoints, basically, wherever you're getting it back from. Downsides on this weapon, because of this, all of its bullets embed in whatever enemy you hit, meaning you cannot ever get punch through on this weapon, which is pretty tough. So if we can't do punch through, dealing with crowds becomes much worse because we can't get multiple damage instances out of each hit. But we will get the explosions, which is at least something. I've gone for anemic agility on this weapon because it does have infinite ammo, so getting double fire rate has been pretty good because the reload actually usually does more damage than the bullets themselves. And we're on Cascadia Flare because we're going to have a good amount of heat procs, and we'll be able to stack that up as we are shooting enemies and then getting the explosion with higher damage when we start up. So this thing is cool. I think its animations and the way it shoots and all of those things are really neat. But it is just like, you know, if it had punch through and it could like embed in multiple enemies, that would be really cool. Like if you gave it punch through and you kind of like got multiple different embeds that all exploded in like a group of enemies, that would be a super sick weapon probably. But as it stands, it's like fine. this is like okay. Like with the enhanced fire rate, you can see like if you dump a magazine into like a big guy, like they'll usually die, which is fine. But this weapon is definitely style over substance 100% of the time. It does fine. It does acceptable. If you put some damage boosts on this, then maybe you'd be fine with it bringing it through like an EDA or an ETA. It is a weapon of all time. At least it's unique and cool, and hopefully whenever it gets a prime, whenever we eventually get Temple Prime, maybe that weapon will actually be good, because like some small mechanical changes, as I said, would probably make it pretty immediately very strong. So, with all that being said, let's talk about the weapon that's actually worth it at MR14, and that's going to be the Dual Vissus. So, Dual Vissus, these are, you guessed it, yeah, they're melee influence weapons, but they seem purpose-built to be melee influence weapons. So these have a unique trait where they will have gas damage on them, just always, they're a gas inherent weapon, but on any gas status effect, you get 8% movement speed and 7% attack speed for 10 seconds, which stacks 5 times. So 35% attack speed and 40% movement speed is really, really solid as a unique buff for this, which helps you just move through groups whenever you're just doing your melee normally. And also, 35% attack speed, that's an entire additional mod that's pretty much just being slapped on top of this weapon very, very easily. Otherwise, the usual suspects are here. I opted to go for Voltaic Strike on this instead of going for an attack speed mod, which has worked out, I think, very, very well, just to make it so we're a little bit more likely to proc electricity over gas because we don't need that many gas procs. And also, it will enhance the power of our electricity because we really, I don't feel, need more attack speed because we're getting it from our unique trait. Gas and electricity both spread through influence, so you're just doing considerably more AoE damage whenever you get those gas procs, especially on tightly knit groups. And it's a really good time. This weapon, I think, is very powerful. It's maybe like a step below where you're going to be getting a lot out of a lot of the Incarnans, but that's quite good. A step below Incarnans is exactly what this weapon is, and it performing that way, I have really no problems at all. In addition to that, like, we're getting a good amount of slash procs, as you can see, on like single targets and such. But like only having built up to 6x combo, like that clears, well, 7x, I suppose, that clears this group pretty well. And as you ascend through higher combo, and we are on Narum on here to preserve our combo, it just gets better and better. Like you can see it just like starting to wipe out these groups like very, very fast, and not even getting up to the full 12x combo here on like a second clear of this group is really good. Like, it is an extremely powerful influence weapon. If I ever get this in ETA or EDA, I'll be like, oh, sweet, I have a great weapon that is going to be able to do a whole lot in this mission, which is fantastic to see. It has a unique effect. It has, like, you know, it's just good. It's just good stuff. It works well. It has great stats. I kind of have no complaints whatsoever about the Vissus. I would say of all the weapons, I wish the others kind of met this MR14 bar a little bit better, as MR14 is quite high. Also, just as a note here, because we're kind of wrapping up talking about this, because I've talked about this a lot over the course of the video of like MR14 being kind of high. As far as we know, in terms of like current data, the biggest active player base is actually from MR about 10 to ending at about 14. So that's why I say MR14 is high, because most players that are playing Warframe aren't there via the data that we currently have and know about. So that's why I say it's kind of like a high bar, because there's a lot more power you can get out of things earlier than that, and a lot of people can't even build these weapons if they wanted to without going and leveling a bunch of other things, which doesn't seem particularly worth it for weapons that are not the Dual Vissus. Anyway, that's going to do it. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video and are enjoying the new weapons. I really enjoy the Purgator a lot, even though it's like a little bit on the weak side maybe. But you know, it's a good chunk of weapons overall. They're all Scaldra themed, and, well, except for, of course, Riot. But it's a good chunk of interesting weapons, just really strange MR requirements. Anyway, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you have enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow. Hey everybody, it's time to thank the patrons that are hanging around and supporting the channel. So, to start with that, the $10 patrons are Atheon, Alex Farnham, Arbiter Daydream, Barkus, Benuven, Plotomatic, Brutus Salazar, Candelathra, Blob World, Dylan Dworsky, Athrain, James Harthorn, JC4 Science, Josh, Luzanth, Vicophil, Michta, Nerve, Ruby, Sanyu, Sharp247, The Coupon of Death, Waifu Wars, Wodad01, and Zeraphir. Also, thanks, of course, to all of the other patrons for supporting the channel. It is much appreciated. It's a little sneak peek on what we're getting into. There's going to be a lot more of these kind of big re-reviews of weapon types and their new builds and stuff, as things changed a lot at the end of last year. And of course, there's also planned new free-to-play before we get into any more big updates. So look forward to that.